All right, we're going to join Rita Cinema and review the movie Tenet. Exciting, our first actual full-length feature movie release. Granted, it was streamed, but technically speaking, this was going to be a theater movie, and it made it to theaters, but didn't quite make it to theaters.
I think this was also our first blockbuster that
Yes.
I mean, it was supposed to be a blockbuster movie that we're reviewing.
Well, I didn't quite get it, but I was entertained. So what did you make of Tenet?
Okay, well, you're going to find I have very similar thoughts. This is our 10th movie review segment of Know It All, and this Christopher Nolan film is about the hardest one for me to review so far because, frankly, I can't quite figure out what it's about. It's bad, and yet I was on the edge of my seat through most of it, which, of course, is good. There are many complex themes and complicated scenes, and I think you spend most of your time on first trying to figure it out and try to figure out what's going on and then follow it. And, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but it does tend to take away from your enjoyment sometimes. There's no question that this is the kind of film you need to watch more than once. I couldn't possibly have gotten everything in one showing. However, I'm sorry to say that I'm going to coast with what I've got. I've watched it once and save my 2.5 hours of my life for something else. I can convey kind of the basic plot of the film unless you want to interject something else at this point.
No, go for it.
Okay. John David Washington plays the lead as the protagonist, and basically that's all we know him as. That's the protagonist. And he is basically, he's hired by I'm not even sure who hires him, but he's basically charged
himself, probably.
Yes, well, we don't know. It's all that's part of it. It's all this big loop that we find a little more by the end, but you're still questioning what the heck's going on. But he's basically charged with saving the world from a catastrophe of some horrible dimension, but neither he nor the viewer really know what that is. We just know it's horrible. He's joined by Neil, played by Robert Pattinson, and we really don't know much about him either. And frankly, it's kind of hard to know who the good guys are in this film. And as I watched it, I wasn't sure there were any good guys. I started thinking maybe they're all bad guys. The protagonist, after he gets the assignment, he's instructed to visit with this scientist, and he finds out that time inversion is the key to what this really bad Russian guy, Andre, played by Kenneth Branagh, is perpetrating. So this time inversion means that, for example, I mean, this is just a very simple example I'm giving you. Bullets can fly backwards in time. People and objects can be inverted so that everything that they're doing is running backwards in time or forwards in time, and it can all happen in the same scene of a movie. And in fact, it does. In some of the scenes, you see actions and people and going backwards in time, and some of it moving forwards in time. And it's all the interaction of this time inversion. And believe me, it's even much more complex than that. But that's about the most precise description I can give you in a short time. Also interweaved into this, of course, is that you have this 9-piece or 9-part algorithm, which is a weapon that is scattered across time and place. And if the pieces are put together, it will basically end the world. Now, this Russian Andre is working with others to pull all these 9 pieces together of the algorithm. And just as a sidelight, he is dying of a terminal illness and is determined to take the world with him when he dies. So he's trying to bring about the end of the world. I believe, if I got it correctly too, he's working with people in the future to do this because, you know, that's the whole idea in this, is that they think they can reverse entropy on Earth and climate change and things like that if they go back and destroy Earth, although I don't quite get that either. And there is that, I've forgotten what it's called, but the grandfather, well, there's a word they call it in the movie anyway, where if you go back, you know, if you go back and kill your grandfather, does that mean that you don't exist in the future? And that's kind of what this is all entwined with. So then we also have Andre's wife and son that are part of the plot, and I won't go into detail there, but she and the protagonist and Neil, along with a lot of other very tough and mean combat troops, are set to battle it out for control of the 9 pieces of the algorithm. Now, I will tell you that's the basic plot. This is a drop in the bucket in terms of the plot or the story. And you also have such concepts as temporal style or steel and temporal pincer movement. And all of that has to do with moving in and out of going backwards and forwards in time. And even the word tenet has a very important aspect that relates to the drama that I'm not sure I really can't explain very well. And so it's going to be left unexplained in my part of the review. But yeah, because if I go in detail on all these other things, this review would last as long as a movie. So maybe you have some other points to add about the story,
Story-wise, I think you pretty much hit it. It's a complex, complicated story, and I actually think you aren't totally supposed to understand it. That's the sort of the point of it. You're supposed to be trying to figure it out as it goes, because actually the characters who are currently in the present time are trying to figure out as it goes too. Current John David Washington's character, the protagonist, doesn't quite understand it. He really doesn't understand it even in the closing scene where they're about to go on the battlefield. And,
right.
He's like, I want to be with the red. And, the other guy says, no, you don't understand. You have to be here and here and here. And so it's supposed to be complex where you don't understand or know what's going on, because really, I don't think anyone who isn't from the future quite understands what's totally going on either. So I think that's sort of a part of the story line that it is. It's going to be complex where you don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on.
You can't wrap your mind around it because you're not supposed to. I do get that. And some people watching the movie will like that and some people won't, and I'll basically I'm in the won't category, but I'll touch on that a little more later. Here are some of my overall thoughts basically on the film. I thought the cast was adequate. All were very good, and they convincingly carried out what is a very difficult story and the action sequences. I do think it is without a doubt a masterpiece of filmmaking. I'll give Christopher Nolan, gold stars there. The craftsmanship, I think you can use that word, is magnificent. And basically, it's what makes the movie. It's the star of the show, so to speak. You find yourself watching some of these incredible action scenes in this film and thinking, or at least I did, and thinking, how in the world did they ever put this together from idea to finished film? I think it must have taken, I don't know how long they worked on this film, but it must have taken a very long time. It's really, the sound, the music, the cinematography, the editing, the way it all comes together is just beyond impressive. I mean, it just makes the movie, and it is what keeps you engaged. I don't know if I've ever experienced anything quite like it, in terms of watching scenes where you have things moving backwards and things moving forwards in time, and you're trying to put it all together in your mind, but just to watch the incredible skill it took, or think about the incredible skill it took to put that movie together. There is a car chase scene that will be unforgettable. The battle scene at the end, and then not to mention that scene where they drive the jet airplane into the airport hangar.
Actually, probably my favorite scene, both of them, because they pull the heist twice.
Yeah. That's right. They do it twice. They show it twice.
The first is the heist of the art piece.
Yeah.
And actually, I love the whole setup of that, of Robert Pattinson getting in there and, getting all the information, and then them trying to pull off this heist scene in there while they're crashing the plane. And then I think what actually caps it is later on down the thing when they come back in time, they have to do it backwards, essentially in reverse. Yes. And that's incredible. Sort of when you find out that they're essentially fighting themselves.
Yes.
And
I read that there was very little CGI used in this movie, that I don't know whether, I don't know what they did, but
it's a lot of old school filmmaking. Nolan is
oh, wow.
not a huge CGI guy. He will set up and, that's why the plane looked so real going into the building, because it probably was a real plane being driven into the.
Yeah, when you see these scenes, you understand why it cost a whole lot of money to make this film.
It cost $200 million to make this film, not counting what advertising went into it. But also that car chase scene, I thought was
unbelievable. Wasn't
just
it?
ridiculous, going and in forward and reverse, and also they retold.
Didn't they redo that one too? Yes.
Then they retold it coming backwards from the.
Right.
I guess it would be the future's point of view coming into the past instead of the past going into the future.
This is not like Blues Brothers car scene chase either. This is like, really, it's an incredible scene, two scenes that I don't think you've seen anything in film like it.
And the battle scene was just
that too
executed to a flawless precision, where you got the past and the future coming together, and the buildings being destroyed and repaired.
Back. Yeah. Although I had a horrible time following that, because I was like, what is happening here?
Well, once you get into the pit, and Robert Pattinson has gone back in time and forward in time a handful of times, it becomes hard to keep up with what
you sort of don't care at that point. You just want to know what's going to happen in the end.
But I really enjoyed the cast. I thought Branagh was really good as I'd say, quote unquote, the villain.
Yeah. And he had to do a Russian accent. No one ever sounds good with a Russian accent, but he actually carried it off pretty well.
I really enjoyed John David Washington. This is now 2 movies in a row I thought he's been really good in, going back to his Black Klansman. Now, he certainly has the benefit of getting to work with Spike Lee and Christopher Nolan essentially on his first 2 movies, which,
that doesn't hurt, does it?
That's always nice to get to work with really genius filmmakers. But I thought Robert Pattinson,
he was really good.
And if you take away his Twilight, he has actually
it's
been.
Too bad that sticks in people's minds about him.
Because he's been really good, and I would suggest anybody to watch The Lighthouse, which came out last year, which is also excellent. William Defoe being also in that. Great film. He's done a lot of good work. So ignore the sparkly Twilight. Get that out of your head.
Yeah.
He's
very good in this.
Yes, he's great in this.
And you know what? He partners really well with the protagonist. The Neil character and the protagonist character, I think they work together well, because they're very different kind of styles.
Very different styles.
The other thing I was going to mention too is there is just a lightning pace throughout this.
That's the thing. It's a long movie, but the scenes come and go in short, bursts of action, and then as they're setting
and
up
moves along.
Next action sequence.
It's just hard to understand at points, and that to me slowed it down in my mind because I was trying to figure things out.
Yeah, you're trying to think.
But I will say it's really too bad. It's just one of those things.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
But it's too bad that we had to watch it on our TVs, even if we have big screen TVs, as opposed to seeing it in a movie theater.
This is Nolan always should be viewed in the movie theater. It's just a, sad case of what it is for 2020 and bad timing. And it's one of those things where we had to watch it. It was still excellent, but maybe in a year or two, they'll re-release it in the theater and we'll get a chance to view it there. But
I don't know if I could sit. May give me a year. I can sit there.
Well, that's what. But the other thing, I thought this was sort of a brainchild that combined a couple of Nolan movies in there. His first big one, Memento.
Oh, Memento, yeah.
And then a little Inception and a little Interstellar, all sort of weaved into one sort of action movie. Weirdo movie. And the other thing, I'm going to butcher his name, but the cinematographer.
Oh, yeah.
Hoyt Van Hoyten Emma.
Yeah. If he doesn't get an Academy Award, something's going to be wrong.
Swedish man, but I can't pronounce the name, but he's worked with Nolan a couple times, but this was extremely.
No one will top that. I mean, really, if someone tops this someday, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, I just, unbelievable work of the way he set
Yeah.
this whole movie up visually.
And the way they worked the music in, actually, I thought
that was the other thing.
I read some criticism of that, but actually, I thought the music made it better, and it didn't overtake the film. It wasn't like the music was hitting you over the head. It just, the way they did it at certain periods of time, certain kinds of music would come in when they were doing certain things, and it helped explain the scene almost.
That's what I wanted to. I thought the sound and music were great. It got some hammering, but I think that's just because it might have been more a main part of the film than the actual dialogue. But that's okay. That's how movies started. Silent films backed with music tracks, and
I don't know about that.
And Nolan's always been more of a sound and music guy. If you want to go watch Dunkirk, there's very little dialogue through that whole movie. And
that was visually.
It's all visual and sound, and that one's, this one has a little bit more dialogue sandwiched in between, but
because they're trying to explain the concepts.
But I thought it was just great sound and music backing track on there that really put you sort of in the film.
They're trying to explain temporal pincer movement.
Yes.
Anyway, with all this said, I'm afraid the production aspects just can't overtake my lack of understanding and kind of buy-in to this story. It just was the film overall. I mean, take out the really astounding spectacle that you're watching. It just was not to my liking. I really can't appreciate what went into it, but I can't really say I liked the film. And I'm gonna, one of the lines from the movie when the scientist is explaining this time inversion to the protagonist is, don't try to understand it, just feel it. But I'm afraid I could do neither with this movie when it came right down to it.
I only really had one criticism. I didn't like the woman actress. Not the actress overall.
The one who played the wife, Andre's wife.
Yes, she played her part perfectly fine. Yes. I didn't like the character. I thought it was
kind of slapped in there, didn't it?
It just sort of, the abused wife with wanting her son and can't leave and all this. And I thought that was just sort of a way to get the protagonist to meet the angry Russian more than anything.
Do you think it was sort of to make the protagonist a little more human because he had feelings for her, and at times he was willing to kind of adjust his mission? By feelings, I don't necessarily mean romantic feelings. I mean, he cared about, he didn't want anything to happen to her.
Correct. He didn't want to, which made me probably
kind of question
even more. He's
trying to save the world, but he wants to save this woman too.
That was what I got. We're saving the world, but we're also protecting the one woman. And the mission seemed to be like, I don't mean to be cruel, but screw the woman. Let's make sure everyone else is safe.
Let's save the world. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think probably, I'm going to be accused of just being rather stupid and having, maybe stupid taste in movies or lacking in sophistication, but frankly, no matter how hard I concentrated on it, I just couldn't follow this movie very well, and I couldn't wrap my mind around the whole concepts of time and the relationships of the past to the future as they happened at the same time. It was good. It was interesting to watch, but I couldn't get my brain to just take it in and understand it. And frankly, when I went to write the plot summary, I usually have a little narrative of plot summary on my reviews. I had to kind of go read what some other people had written because I wasn't sure I could do a plot summary on my own. And actually, you know what? That kind of helped. Reading some articles about it after I'd seen the movie it did help me a little bit in terms of understanding it and to understand what people were who were watching it, both reviewers and just the average viewer thought of it. But I have to tell you one of my favorite quotes that came out of a review, and because I'm going to quote it, I want to give the person who wrote it credit. His name is Owen Gleiberman, and he writes for Variety magazine. And this is really going to make me sound stupid, although I thought it was rather clever. He said he liked it. He had the same kind of feelings. He liked it, but didn't like it. But he said, if I were teaching a course on Tenet, my one homework assignment would be find yourself a good James Bond thriller and watch that instead. And frankly, I kind of had those thoughts at the end of the movie. Wouldn't I have enjoyed James Bond, a good James Bond movie more? So that sort of sums it up for me. But I I will say that there are many devotees to Nolan's work who really love what he does, and I think they will probably love this film because, as you said, it pulls a lot from the kinds of
Yes.
things he does in other
But
films.
that being said, I didn't like Interstellar. So
Okay, a lot of other people didn't either.
well,
but
of the Nolan films, that's possibly the
and-
only one I haven't liked.
and this is probably well above most of the drivel we get in the way of movies.
Well, that's
at
what
the theater.
that
So,
also
you know.
maybe curtail my review. Is this is literally the first major motion picture of 2020 I
Yeah.
probably watched that isn't just a streamer. So
Yeah, I've tried to be kind to the films we've reviewed, but this one I was much harder on this one because it is supposed to be
Well,
one,
that- but
a
this is
top
where you
film.
get the feel of the difference between a streamed movie, no matter
Yeah,
what the budget is of and the stars in a streamed movie, and what a movie meant for
a
a
theater.
giant theater expected to do large box office.
Let us hope that the vaccine works and they open the movie theaters again someday. It hasn't gone into the past with temporal pincing or anything, and we can watch movies in the theater.
All right, so let's get to our review.
Okay.
1 through 10. Where are you sitting here?
Well, I'm going to be the low reviewer this time, I'm sure, because I gave it a 4. And my 4 points are based entirely on the remarkable spectacle that was created that was quite mesmerizing to watch. And I would say to people, watch it if you're curious, because it certainly is a different kind of film. And if you've liked other Nolan films, I think you can, you watch it. But for the most part, I think most people could probably skip it.
I gave it a 7.5.
Oh boy.
I thought it was really entertaining.
Yeah.
I liked the flow of the film. And the other thing is, I think it's rewatchable. I will probably watch this a couple more times to try to pick up little nuances and little small things that give you more and more to the story. Nolan likes to sit those in there. And the more you watch it, the more you can pick up things. I think this might be a movie that people come to enjoy as it goes further down the road and they've seen it, more than one time. I think one time through, so much is thrown at you, you're getting a little
There's no
confused.
question about that. And I really do think if you like the kind of things that Nolan does in a film, you would want to watch this. I mean, it's almost like studying, in a film course. There really could be a film course on Tenet,
Yes,
couldn't there?
probably so.
Or at least on Christopher Nolan movies, maybe.
All right, so that's our ratings. Next week, we get another big motion
Another
picture.
blockbuster, a
Wonder
different
Wo-
kind of blockbuster.
Yes, Wonder Woman 1984. That should be an exciting one. And then after that, I think we're going to do Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. So those two are coming up, and that's our show. Be sure to join us next week for Wonder Woman 1984.